Alright, what's going on everyone out there on YouTube? NES Ruler. And welcome to a brand new review. And this time around we'll be checking out a film that was sent to me review by VCI Entertainment. And you can pick this up right now on 4K at all your favorite online retailers. It is a film from the year 1972, directed by one of the more unappreciative horror directors of the time. And it is a film titled Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. So this is the brand new 4K release of this film from VCI. And Bob Clark's first film. And it's a really interesting movie. I really think that, to be honest with you, it's not the best movie narrative-wise or even technically. But again, going back to some of these other films that I reviewed a little while ago, this is a really just an independent drive-in movie made for 50 grand, and you know, a guy trying to find his way in the industry and learn how to do the craft and how to piece together a movie and all that kind of stuff. And you know, this is what we got. And as he goes on to make films like Death Dream and of course Black Christmas, we start to see tropes that he learned in this movie carry over into those films, but in a much better way. And of course Death Dream is an amazing, unappreciative gem that has recently gotten more and more recognition as the years go on, rightfully so. And of course Black Christmas has also always been a classic and a really groundbreaking film. You know, if you consider it the first slasher film, I mean, there's nothing denying that that's a credible claim. So this is Bob Clark's first film, and it's really the first hour of the film really plays out like a comedy. Like, you start to see some tropes that you even see in Porky's carry out in this film. It's quite amusing. Like I said, it's not the greatest film, to be completely honest with you. It takes about an hour or so for the horror to finally show up into this movie. But the first hour is this group of friends goofing around. So we basically follow this theater troupe. They travel to this island in the middle of the ocean, lake, whatever you want to call it. And they travel to this graveyard. And basically what they're doing is they are using this graveyard as a backdrop to test a theater performance. And the main leader of the group, Alan, he's a little bit crazy. You don't know if he has a darker hidden agenda taking this group out into this graveyard. And basically while they get there, they, start to play around with the bodies that are dug up in this graveyard. And of course, it's actors planted by Alan to try and fool the other people in this theater troupe. And one night they decide to do a seance, and they ultimately raise the dead of all these dead bodies that are in the cemetery. And it turns into a Night of the Living Dead ripoff for the last 20 minutes of the film. And that's basically what you get. You get a low-budget zombie film / group comedy, if you want to call it. And, it's extremely low budget, shoestring budget. And, the makeup effects are what they are. They're not very good. But again, it's just filmmakers learning how to do what they do with the budget that they had. And the film ultimately did go out and played in drive-in circuits. And it played overseas in the UK and things like that. So it did do some kind of business. So they ultimately gave Bob Clark the opportunity to make those films that I talked about earlier on in the review. So this is an okay zombie movie. It's clearly influenced by Night of the Living Dead, at least the last 20 minutes of it. And it ends in a really interesting way, and a ending that I think kind of carries on with Bob Clark's other films. I think he does endings in a really interesting and fascinating way. And, I was kind of curious of what would happen with the ending of this movie. If you guys have seen it, what would happen next after that. I feel like that's one of the more interesting parts of this movie. So it's worth the watch once. I feel like if you guys like Bob Clark and like those other films that he's done, I feel like to watch this movie is worth it. It's crazy. It's 50 years old. But it's unfortunate what happened to Bob Clark and how he got killed. The way that he killed, because he really was a talent. And, he had to go out with Baby Geniuses, which, isn't the greatest film. But, he kept on working throughout his entire life. And it all started out with this movie and his friends. And, yeah, so that is my thoughts on the film. Let's talk about the addition of it. So this is a brand new 4K transfer. They used the same transfer that they did on the release a couple years ago on Blu-ray, but they ported it over here on to the 4K format. No HDR, none of that fancy stuff that you get in some of the other labels films, which is a bit disappointing. I would have loved to see this have some little bit more TLC to it. I'm not saying that it's a bad transfer, but it's not necessarily good either. I feel like some of the dark scenes in this film are really, really dark. Of course, that probably had to do with the fact that the movie was really low budget. They probably didn't have that much lighting to begin with. But the transfer is really, really hit or miss. I say it in every one of my 4K reviews. Is it the best that the movie's going to look? Probably. But I feel like it really is a hit or miss transfer when it comes to this film. It sounds really good. The audio track's really good. It's well preserved and it sounds really good. I wish that the transfer kind of lived up to a similar fate, but ultimately it is what it is, and it's probably the best that it's going to look. So the features, the main feature on this, which I'm pretty sure was on the Blu-ray that came out a few years ago, is like this 90-minute documentary about the horror films of Bob Clark. I just finished watching this right before I did this review. Really awesome documentary about Bob Clark's 4 horror films that he made at the beginning of his career, with a bunch of interviews from people who worked with him, a lot of actors, his first AD, the composers of his movies, a lot of really interesting interviews and insight about Bob Clark's career and how the movies got made and how they have became kind of appreciative in the horror community as time gone on. So really a fantastic feature. It was kind of worth the purchase of this release. If you guys end up buying it, is worth it just for that. It's really brand new, really interesting 90-minute documentary. Got a new Q&A from Alan Orsby, who is the actor and Bob Clark's longtime companion making movies. The audio is not that good in this interview. VCI puts a little disclaimer at the beginning of the interview apologizing for the poor audio quality. I mean, it even has English subtitles because the audio is not very well done. So that's the only brand new feature with this release, and it's unfortunate because it's kind of a stinker. All the other stuff is stuff that was on the Blu-ray commentary track, interview with Ken Gouch, another Q&A, another tribute to Bob Clark, a little bit of a shorter, older archival interview tribute to Bob Clark, and some music videos, and that is it. So with this disc release, you get your slipcover. The back is pretty much the same as the back of the keep case, and you get this new artwork, and then you get this colored booklet that talks about the film a little bit. It's not very long. It's like a 6-page booklet. Just talks about the releases and past releases and the history of the film. And then you got your 3-disc set. You got your 4K, which has all the features, pretty much all the features on there. And then you have your 2 Blu-rays, which is, this one has the movie and all the features on this. So it's a 3-disc set. Kind of interesting they did this because I know on the Blu-ray they slammed all of the stuff onto a single disc. So Why they decided to put it on 2 Blu-rays for this, I don't know, but it's on 3 discs, and that's what you get. So that is my review of Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Like I said, a historical first film by Bob Clark. Not my favorite, and in my opinion, not the best movie, but it's still an oddity and a important part if you guys enjoy Bob Clark. So that's my review. If you guys like it, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/NESRuler22. Hope everybody is doing well, and I shall talk to you guys later. See you guys.